Buongiorno, buon pomeriggio, e buonasera, Lazio world. Welcome to our instant reaction pod. I'm your host, Sean McIntosh, joined as always by my good friend, Caleb Adams. Caleb, we're here to chat quarterfinals of Coppa Italia in a huge, and important, our Super Bowl victory here in pens 1-1, and then finishes in pens. How you feeling this midweek afternoon?
Man, I'm thrilled. I think you mentioned this is our Super Bowl. This is kind of the biggest thing we're playing for this season. Kind of feels dead without Coppa Italia right now. We're kind of just in this weird no man's land where not really playing for much, and we're also not playing to get relegated as of right now. So this right here, this is the best shot we have at generating some income, some confidence, potential European spots. Let it continue. Let's make it. Let's go all the way.
Yeah, well, it was going to be curious just to see how we both approached this match, and obviously we know how important this was, but you never know how a manager's really going to attack it, and then two, just the mentality after a positive performance against Juve in a lot of ways, and then disappointing to only get a result or only get a draw in a game that we were up 2-0 in. So let's jump into this one where we always do. Starting 11 had some interesting decisions, some that made sense, some that at least had you questioning a bit. Starting with Pellegrini getting the start over Nuno Tavares. Maybe Nuno's not quite ready for a full 90 or playing back-to-back matches given his history concerns. We do see our Nicolo Rovella with his first start in ages, replacing Cataldi in that spot. Pedro back to his left wing position with Zaccagni still hurt. That starting trio up top remains the same with Maldini up top, Isaacson to his right, Romagnoli back in the starting 11, and then Dele Bashiru getting the start, despite Basic being healthy enough to be on the squad, but maybe not quite healthy to be forced to play only a couple days after he suffered an injury. So this one, much different match than the one against Juve, but a little bit of a tale of two halves. Bologna probably the better side in the first 45 versus 45, but 9 minutes in, and I had to question some refereeing decisions, but you also had to question. We came off of a match last week in which we dubbed Gila as our bidone. 9 minutes into this one, does well to intercept the ball, makes the run, has a tough touch, loses possession, and then immediately picks up a yellow card. A bit of a boneheaded decision, tough to get the yellow so early, and then 15 minutes, Provedel forced to make a massive save after a Gila missed header causes some challenges back there. And again, two through lines here. Gila starting off a little bit rough, and then Provedel continuing his fine form. 26-minute, Pellegrini sends a nice ball to set Dele Bashiru free. A bad touch with a bit of defender, maybe tugging a little bit, leads to a missed opportunity. And then 30th minute, Castro header from a corner kick. It is our Achilles heel. Whip a ball into the Lazio box, and it's sure to spell something good for the opposition. It's 1-0 Bologna. And then in the 36th minute, a really incredible opportunity. Pedro, beautiful free kick, plays the ball over top. Maldini, a wonder volley. Great strike. Had me up in my seat thinking it was a goal. And then it's just a wonderful, fantastic save by Bologna, preventing the equalizer. Pedro forced to sub out in the 44th minute. It was that bad that he couldn't hold on for halftime. Naslin on, and then we go into the second half. 48th minute, Dele Bashiru squares a perfect pass to Tijani Naslin, making his run. I mean, you couldn't miss that one. Does well to be in the right position, finish that off. It's 1-1. A series of substitutions, and then this one essentially kind of plays out with no major threats on either side, all the way to pens. And it is a clinic in penalty taking. I got to note the field in this match, absolutely horrid. You saw a lot of players slipping during the match. The close ups during the penalty shootout really saw the tough conditions, but Lazio able to capitalize after a Provedel save, essentially seized the pen shootout with relative ease. Taylor, the final pen, clears it in there, and it's Lazio on their way to a semifinals against Atalanta. Caleb, give me your 3 words or less to describe this one.
My 3 words are depth shows up, and the thought behind that is we have very limited depth right now, and the depth we have had has been disappointing off the bench in a lot of cases. In this game, we had a little bit of rotation in this match. Pellegrini came in for Nuno, which is Pellegrini. It's kind of been his spot to lose up to this point. But big notice here is Delebashiru comes in and Nelson comes in. Delebashiru starts the match. Nelson comes in pretty early for Pedro, and it's them two that actually combine for the game tying goal. And I think really actually had good overall games. Delebashiru, maybe the first half was a little bit flat, but I think the whole team was flat the first half. It was quite dead. There wasn't any movement in the team. Come the second half, I think Saudi made some adjustments because our attacking midfielders and just our midfielders in general were just making more runs forward. Just the whole team was just bombing a lot more forward. And I think both Delebashiru and Nelson benefited from that. And I thought they had good games. The usual staples, like Isaacson had a poor game. Gila had, I thought, a poor game. Rovella, kind of decent enough for coming back. So I think it was nice for me to see some other guys step up to the occasion and get us this game, this draw here for this match. And I think the depth showed up today and had some good performances off the bench or starting out.
Yeah, I've got just one word, and it's composed. And is a side that it's been a little bit lacking for an identity this year. We've seen a side that's been valiant in coming back and handling diversity, but we've also seen the same side kind of crumble through some tough time, really lack life. But today, after going down 1-0 and the most important match of the year, was able to really turn it around. And a tough first half, nowhere near a tough half that maybe we saw against Juve, where we were just barrage, but came out and took over a second half and really changed things. And whether it was tactically or just players doing their part, I just thought, and then going down to the pens, talk about composure. Last year, when we saw ourselves in a penalty shootout in the Europa League against Bodo Glimt, it was horrid, right? It just seemed like a team tense, not ready. This seemed like every person that stepped up, the way they took their pens, it was all about placement. It was calm. To Provedel, I mean, one thing about Provedel that we say all the time, like I was telling our sporting director who was watching the penalty shootout with me, I was like, look, he is so good at reading penalties.
Yeah.
He's really good at reading them. He may not have maybe the strongest hands. He's not the size. He's not small, but he's not a Donnarumma. But you really got to place them well to beat him.
Yeah.
Or you've got to come with like some pace on it. And sure enough, right, first one, he reads it right. He's well done on some mind games, kind of stepping off of his line and then inching his way forward. And I just thought they were just very composed in that penalty shootout, which was a difference from a year ago. So, and really, really, really got to commend them. And you're seeing a side that's maybe coming together, obviously at the right time because we're in the semifinals. So, it's two more opponents right now. We've kind of go into a home and away situation, so it's going to be interesting to see how we approach that.
Yeah, and I'll add just real quick too. 2 of those pens were taken by substitutes. So even though Dia and Nuno, I thought Dia was actually serviceable today. He had some nice little flick-ons, and Nuno was doing his thing. Ultimately, they came up. Both of them subbed up for penalty, scored it, and contributed to the win.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure who to rely on in this situation. I
Hmm.
know, Cataldi was kind of the only one. I know Nuno is a decent set piece taker, so I expected him to be one of the guys, and then kind of assumed Taylor just with his technical ability, but we had never seen him, and so to step up and obviously take the match winning pen, but they all did well, and again, the field conditions were really, really tough. So
Hmm.
added variable there that gives you any excuse to kind of fail, and they didn't. So on the point on man of the match, just really solid performances all the way around. It is one of those weird ones that I don't know as I'm thinking about maybe who I would give man of the match. Nobody necessarily like popped off as the clear cut. So
Hmm.
I'm gonna go with a back to back man of the match performance for Provedel. Just 15 minutes in, he makes a big save there. Obviously, comes up with the save in the penalty
Hmm.
shootout. Just what a turnaround season for him. What an
Hmm.
absolute turnaround season
Wow,
for
yeah,
him
100%.
from last year, and this was and so much pressure to do so. I mean, you talk about pressure to get it right and perform at the highest level. He loses his job last year.
Yeah.
Oh, and then now he's kind of has a clean opportunity. Maybe Sadi, who knows, gives him a little bit of the inside lane to prove himself right. But after losing the job last year, and then obviously we were all high praiseworthy of Mandas, and then Mandas gets sold. Now it's
Hmm.
like, dude, you're it. You got to perform, and he's been absolutely spectacular. Top two keeper in this league this season, and today on like we don't get it done without him coming up with those saves. So for that, I mean, I'll let you kind of shout yours, and then maybe we talk about some of the other guys. But man of the match for me, Providel.
Yeah, I think Bordeaux's a good bet for the most part. I didn't think anyone was particularly like horrible today, to be honest. There's one name that I thought was pretty bad, but I want to give a shout out to Dele Bashiru because we've seen some rough performances from him as of late coming off the bench, and I think there is definitely something to say of like it's tough to build consistency when you're coming off the bench for sporadic minutes, but he got to start this game. Saudi entrusted him to start. Um, and even though the first half was sort of flat, it wasn't it wasn't it wasn't terrible from anybody. It was just really flat half in general. I thought that he really played to his strengths in the second half, and I think I texted this in the group chat of Saudi. Whether it was Saudi, whether it was Bashiru just getting more aggressive, I don't know what it is. Maybe a combination of both, but his runs forward were starting to really open things up, and the biggest thing was he was secure with the ball. He made 21 passes, made every single pass. They're not like line breaking balls, but that's not his job. That's not his job. His job is a physical presence. Make the runs in behind, make things difficult on defense. And when you get the ball, don't lose it, protect it. I thought he did that today. And the build up for that entire with the only goal we scored, he was involved from the middle all the way back to the outside. So he fought some people off, did some combinations in the middle of the park, kind of drifted wide, received it again, and it was also him who put in that cross to put it on a platter for Nelson. So kudos to him on there. He was 2 for 2 for successful dribbles, had a few blocks, won 75% of his duels, 3 out of 4. So I thought it was one of the better showings from today that I wanted to shout out.
Yeah, no, for sure. Especially given some of the poor performances, he's been out for a while. Yeah, definitely deserves a shout. And look, again, where nobody like completely stood out, thought Pedro before his injury was good, was doing a lot of the things that we saw, against Juventus. Maldini, I have to continue giving praise to, and particularly because he was not a player that I was thrilled about, but He's given us a lot of technical ability. He is so crafty. His ability to beat a man,
Mm,
got the ball at his feet, incredible. I mean, he is going to be a player that earns us penalties.
yeah,
You're going to see he's going the way he beats players, just kind of his shiftiness, and he's going to be a player that earns us pens down the line. So I just like he just gives us a dynamic and all the things we said this, all the things that Tati brought to the table.
mhm,
Maldini is showing that he has every bit the abilities that Tati brought,
Hmm.
but we'll see. He hasn't necessarily been in the position to have a crack at goal or get a ton of opportunities to finish. So TBD on whether he's an improvement in the finishing category. I'm going to assume so because that was our one gripe with Tati. But thinking about the Bidone side, Caleb, who'd you have?
I had Gila. He was a big standout for me, and he's been on just as Providel's been on a great run of form. I think Gila's been on a real poor form, and I don't want to. I also don't want to say this is only. I want to stress this isn't only a form problem. This is something that we've seen from Gila in the past. But I thought that Gila, um, even on the first opportunity they got, like playing out of the back, right? Even on that aspect, playing out of the back, Isakson was a part of that play as well. But Gila now just booting it out. Just again, decision making mentally, right? This is where we always go back to Gila is like, what is he thinking, or why is he not thinking? The goal itself that they scored was off a set piece. Some of that blame goes to Saudi's zonal system. We do play a zone on these set pieces, and I don't think it's working. I think we just need to go man at this point. But ultimately, the players are responsible to cover their zone, and it seems like every goal that we concede off a cross comes from Gila's zone somewhere in that vicinity for the most part. And I think it's down to his poor decision making, maybe too slow to realize situations. I don't know if this is, have we reached the peak of Gila? Like, do you believe this is like kind of like we should be expecting out of him at this point? Do we think he can make it to really that next level, or is Gila just going to be a physical beast? Has a few lapses in games that you're always he's gonna have like 2 or 3 lapses a game. You just hope that they're not too drastic to where we can see the goal. How are you feeling about Gila right now?
Yeah, it's tough. Like I agree. I think for me, just to touch on the Bidone, it was either between Gila or Isaacson. I thought they were like,
Yeah,
then again, like he just runs so hot and cold. But Gila, I expect so much better from, and it's been a run of really poor matches. Look, it's all mental. We've said this over and over again. I mean, he's got all the physical qualities in the world. I have he has gone stretches where he has been very good, very
yeah,
good. We're not talking like 2, 3 games. This isn't a
yeah,
case
yeah.
of Isaacson kind of hot and cold.
Mm-hmm.
So I can only assume that it is distraction. It is, coming off of this market, and his name's been linked to Milan, and they talk about whether or not he's going to get sold, and his contract's up next season. So
Mm-hmm.
is it a case of that? Is that Oh, that's weird. It disconnected me. Is it a case where he is just distracted and it's his game suffering as a result? That's the only thing I can think of because it's, as you said, like we know his faults, and there's always been a little bit of a case of this, but it is getting worse. So you hope that this isn't a trend. I'm hopeful that it's not who he is, and it's just a run of poor performances. But yeah, it's not good. And in order for us to win this thing, think about the teams ahead of us or the teams that we may face. First, starting with Atalanta, who we will see, which is probably the most winnable of what happens in the final between either Inter or Como. Must be said that if we want to be rooting for Inter. Like for a couple reasons. One, Como has absolutely destroyed us in our 2 matches against them. So
Yeah.
just from that standpoint alone, crazy to say that I'm more confident against Inter than Como.
Yeah, for
But
real.
the more important thing to note is that a couple things there as well. Inter, who still in Champions League, in a Scudetto race,
Yeah.
likely going to be thinking about those competitions. And then secondly or thirdly, they're going to be qualified for Europe. So the winner of Coppa Italia gets a European place because Inter already has that secured. Second
Mm-hmm.
place would secure you European play. So we
Mm.
could very well lose the final and still find ourselves in Europe.
Okay, that's
So
good
very,
insight.
very much want to see Inter in that final for those reasons. So, anyways, yeah, Caleb, just how do you has this have these two matches, Juve and now Bologna, given you more hope into this Lazio side now as we think about this backstretch and the rest of Coppa Italia?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's encouraging. Again, for me, it was really more so about what I want to just see what baseline foundation we have with our players, right? Is there something that we can actually build off of? I'm not, I'm not expecting this team to be pushing for Champions League, but it's always more so about because Sadi is likely gone, so I'm really hyper focused on the player, the squads, um, and seeing who fits where, who's someone that we just need to kind of move on from, who's someone that's going to be one of those focal points to build off of. What kind of style will these players be suited to the best? Right. So these are all things that I'm personally focusing on in these games. And I think we have some good. I think we have some really solid players, man. I think we do. I think we have players in each line that we can rely on and can be pieces for us in the future. But yeah, certainly, I'm seeing a more confident team. I think there's some belief brewing in the team, and getting even though we drew both of these both games that I think we lose not long ago. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I think, look, we talked like, given whether it's contractual situations like Gila, it's going to be, there's not a ton of players that I see that are going to be a part of the project long term, right? But I do think there are some positive pillars. But I got to give credit to Sadi here because I think just the way he has us set up is in our best interest because I still think there is a limitation in technical quality. I still think we are a team with too many holes. We do have a bit of injection.
wait. I will say we are a better team technically post
So,
transfer market than we
so
are pre the transfer market, which is interesting.
yeah. So I was going to say Taylor and Maldini gives
Mhm.
us a new element, but and you can see it, and that's where Sadi, we've adjusted a little bit, and you see some of this starting to click because we're seeing more combination patterns, and we're seeing us in a counterattacking way be a little bit more decisive, and now it's about finishing chances, which,
Yeah.
going back to Juve, right? That's a match that we very well could have scored 5 goals, and but there's a little bit more directness,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
players like Isaacson and Nossen help. So I like the way he has us playing. It is very much it's tough to watch sometimes, but I think as we grow and the players like Taylor and Maldini, I don't know, there is something there. I don't think that it's a foregone conclusion that Sadi's gone. I think that if we were, let's say we win Coppa Italia, right? Like, winning cures everything, and then all of a sudden that's maybe Lotito is a little bit more positive about things, gives them a signing or two. Like, I think as it stands today, like, you're probably right, but I think if we were to win, like, that may change things. So
I don't know. I don't even think it's a Lotito problem. I think it's a Saudi just not being promised, not having promises fulfilled. And he's like, this is the second go around. I'm not getting the promises fulfilled that I was told before I accepted this project. So for me,
maybe,
I'm just like, yeah,
but
okay,
there is an element where managers always, like, it's never enough. Managers always bitch, right? Like,
oh, for sure,
it's most of them are always going to say that they're
for
never
sure.
happy.
Saudi
So
definitely does a lot more than the norm, though.
I don't know.
At least,
I don't know that
at least
he's
publicly.
not Conte level.
No, but at least publicly. I mean, Like, I mean,
He's
like,
definitely
I'm not a,
honest. He's not a corporate.
I'm not a fan of the comments of like fighting for relegation and like we can't win right now. Like, I hate that mentality. Even though I understand where he's coming from, I totally am. But like as a coach, I'm like, I don't care. Like, yes, like I don't care. Yes, I'm realistic. We're not going to be, chasing top four. But I don't think that mentality is. I don't look that. I don't appreciate that in my coach for my team.
Yeah, I agree. I agree
That's
with
a
you
personal
there.
thing. Some people don't
I
care.
no. I agree with you there. And like by all means, like he's not approaching everything right. I think his just trying to understand his thinking though is he's and it's not a good effect on the players. Nobody wants to be told like they're not good and they can't compete. That does
Yeah.
have a negative effect on the players. I think what he's trying to accomplish is the pressure on Sad is on Lotito, and it's
Mhm.
like, hey, we've got a relegation side. We need players, right? Should probably be doing it in a different way that maybe doesn't trickle down to the players. So I
Mhm.
agree with you there. But at the end of the day, I also appreciate the pressure that he puts on Sadi. But
Yeah,
like
that's
any, I
fair.
mean, I don't know, man. Every manager that I feel like I come across, they're never satisfied. They're always kind of like bitching and moaning. So winning cures all. So if we find ourselves as with the trophy this year and European play, who knows, right? Like they
Mm.
can reconcile. They've reconciled before, like
Yeah,
not So who knows?
we'll
But
see.
I do feel a little bit better. Obviously, it's still a team with a lot of holes in it. And
Yeah.
that's what people need to remember. There are a lot of gaps in this squad, and we can't have our top players like Gila underperforming, or we're going to struggle. But yeah, I feel a little bit better for sure.
And I'll say too, like I think as of late, I it does seem what I appreciated is it does seem that the team has been a lot more vertical. I think the biggest
Yeah,
issue I always had with Sadi is he's always been a very horizontal coach, side to side to side. He slowly progress. That system is just it just requires this elite individual talent to actually create anything. So we're very flaccid if we approach that, but it does seem I am seeing a shift in the team style, which
yeah.
is a kudos to Saudi. I am seeing more vertical, and particularly it's like Juve was a great example. I mean, Juve, we got absolutely overrun. Let's not kid ourselves. Saudi is not having us play like a top tier team here, or we're not like we're hanging in there in games. When maybe we shouldn't be, or it's giving us a shot. But despite all that, like I am seeing a little more verticality out of the team, which I appreciate. It's like that's the only way we're going to score
I
goals.
mean, for me, there's three. If you're thinking about positives with Sadi and people that need to give him credit, is that we've changed a little bit. Um, Two, it's that we are getting results in important matches,
Hmm.
which was the struggle last year, where we were
Yeah,
like, man, like come on, these big matches, right? It was kind of one of the things that we like missed from Sadi, like winning those big games.
yeah, for
And
sure.
it's like, okay, we're back to doing that. Hopefully, we can win a derby. And then three is he's playing the players that we've kind of been calling for, right? We're like, man, why is he
Hmm.
burying Noslin? Like,
Hmm.
what the hell, man? Like, okay, here we go. Like, Noslin's getting real playing time. We've been asking for, all right, man, Nuno can really unlock something. Okay,
Hmm.
market closed. He's part of the squad. And what did Sadi do? And immediately insert him back. He's part of the squad now. He started last match. He was an important piece today coming off the bench. Like, I gotta be positive and happy with some of those things that we were maybe bitching about before.
Yeah, for sure. Pellegrini was suspended, by the way, last game. That was a
He was
suspension.
suspended.
He was
Wait,
suspended. That's why Nuno started.
got it. But still, he
But
played today.
regardless,
He played
like
today,
Nuno's
right?
still been brought back
Yeah.
into the fold.
Yep.
Um, but no, yeah, I think those are all really great points, especially the personnel selection. Because you and I, that's one thing we've always talked about. Sadi's like, what is he thinking sometimes, right? Like what? Like some of the selections don't make any sense.
Yep.
Today Dia came in a little early. We also were like, you know. But I've certainly seen it's certainly less frustrating now, and I think he is playing. And that's all you can ask of at this point is play your best players and
That's
positions
it.
are natural and have at it. Like that's all we
And
can
even
ask.
guys that we're not seeing, he like again got to give him credit because we got to see Petkov,
Hmm.
right? He
Yeah.
signed and he immediately like he got a start. He came off the bench. Like we got to see him. hadn't done enough, and so now it makes all the sense in the world. Like, yeah, he's not going to come in. Like, not when Maldini's playing like this. Like, okay, this you and I don't love seeing Dia come on, but like at least Dia is like last resort now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm, happy with some of the selection decisions. It's not as infuriating as it was maybe a month ago. So
definitely
cool. Well, here we are. Big win. Semifinals. Another chance to hopefully add to our trophy cabinet and our only realistic chance of getting into Europe. Big match this weekend against Atalanta Saturday. This one again, we're all but out of it, but you never know, and it's a good measuring stick for where we are as a club. So here we are. We march along. Sempre Forza Lazio.